Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will celebrate a second straight AFC North title and a 3 seed if they handle business Saturday against a depleted Browns team. Baltimore comes in riding a 3-game winning streak, and Jackson on the verge of breaking Aaron Rodgers' single-season all-time passer rating record set in 2011. Now, it's been an uneven start to Lamar's playoff career. His team is 2-6 overall in the postseason when he's the starter. The Ravens held the 1 seed last year, hosted the AFC Championship game, but ultimately lost to Kansas City, a 75.7 passer rating in the playoffs for Mr. Action Jackson. Not what you want to see. He's thrown as many touchdowns, 6, as interceptions. Time now to bring in CBS Sports NFL writers Breech and Will Brinson. And provided the Ravens don't play with their food against Cleveland, they're going to be the 3 seed AFC North champs and hope to return to the AFC Championship game. Well, how likely do you think that is, knowing how we've gotten so many different Ravens teams this season?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is, and, you can talk to Steelers fans about this, you can talk to Chargers fans about this, you can talk to anybody who was good in the stretch that Tom Brady was in New England and the Patriots had their dynasty. The Chiefs are doing the same thing. Like, sometimes, you just get stuck with a juggernaut. And I think with the Ravens, I think the Ravens can win the Super Bowl easily. They have Derrick Henry. They have this myriad weapons. Lamar Jackson is playing his best in terms of being a pure passer that he has over his entire career. He's really developing this Todd Monken offense. He looks so comfortable. He's like his pre-snap stuff in the line of scrimmage is far advanced from anything else he's done. And you see the numbers. I mean, their yards per play are through the roof. The issue is sometimes the Chiefs are there, and you also have the Bills. And so I don't even think it's like this narrative about Lamar's playoff performances. I think that's a little skewed. I think it's probably more like, can the Ravens defensively slow down these teams, with Mahomes, with Josh Allen, who, even if the Chiefs haven't been good, we know they can step it up. And then if they can do that, I expect Lamar and company to perform well. They also need to remember, run the freaking ball. They forgot it last year. They got Derrick Henry. I don't think they'll forget this year.
Yeah, Brinson, that is absolutely true. You have Derrick Henry in the backfield. You do not forget to run the ball. The interesting thing about the Ravens, though, I feel like on paper, they are one of the top 2 teams in the AFC. I think it is them and the Chiefs. And someone might say, well, what about the Bills? Well, we saw what happened when the Ravens played the Bills. Baltimore won 35-10 in a game that was not close. And I am not sure Buffalo could ever do enough to fix that if these 2 teams were to meet again in the playoffs. So I think when you look at the Ravens, this is an 11-5 team. I know Bill Parcells said that your record is what it says you are. Well, unless your kicker has a horrible year, this team should probably be 14-2. I think Justin Tucker has cost them at least 3 games. So to me, this is a 14-2 team going into the playoffs, and they are the biggest threat to the Chiefs. But if they are going to be a Super Bowl contender, they're going to have to do something they really haven't been able to do since Lamar Jackson took over as the full-time starter, and that is just be successful in the playoffs. When you go back, let's go back to 2019. Their lowest output, their lowest scoring total of the year came in the playoffs. 2020, lowest point total of the year came in the playoffs. 2023, lowest point total of the year came in the playoffs. So there is just always this element of the offense kind of falling apart in the playoffs. So they have to keep that from happening. I think that's where Derrick Henry comes in, because you give the ball to Derrick Henry, all he has to do is run straight with it. It's hard for your offense to fall apart in that situation. But the Ravens have to figure out how to get their offense going consistently in the playoffs. And if they can do that, they can win the Super Bowl.
Right. They got to get the offense going consistently, not try to be too cute, stick to your identity. And that defense, they need to show up like they have in years past. Now, meanwhile, the Ravens' rival, Pittsburgh, they've struggled as of late, 3 straight losses by a convincing margin to really good teams. So would a win Saturday against the Bengals change your opinion about them going into the postseason?
Yeah, like a little bit, I guess, in the sense that I would say, okay, Pittsburgh, took care of business in a big spot where they needed to try to give themselves a chance to win the division, although they really had this division sealed up and gave it back to the Ravens. I think just the second team in NFL history, the Ravens are, if they win on Saturday against the Browns, and they're 20.5-point favorites, we think they will, just the second team in history to be down multiple games in the division and win the division by multiple games, which is pretty wild. And I just think when no disrespect to the Steelers, I thought they would be a sub-500 team this year. They vastly exceeded expectations. Mike Tomlin's been great. Defense has been awesome. Russ has been better than expected. But I think when you look at the AFC, and John pointed out when talking about the Ravens, there's just this upper crust of three teams. It's the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. However, whatever order you want to put them in, one of those three teams is going to go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think the Chargers have been a great story this season. Broncos are a great story this season. Steelers are a great story this season. Texans are kind of hanging out doing whatever, I guess. But to me, it's like those three teams at the top, they're just vastly better than the rest of them. And even a win on Saturday by the Steelers over the Bengals wouldn't change my opinion and gravitate them towards that top tier.
Yeah, the Steelers are interesting. And like Brinson said, I agree with them there that if they beat the Bengals, it's not going to change my opinion about them going into the playoffs because they've already beaten the Bengals. So that means they beat a non-playoff team twice. And is that going to help them going into the postseason? I'm not sure about that. Maybe they feel a little bit better about themselves to end this 3-game losing streak they're on. But if I'm the Steelers, I would just be worried about getting healthy. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I go the Sean McVay route, just kind of let my starters rest on Saturday night because if your team is healthy, you can almost beat anyone. You look at what the Steelers have done this season. They've already beaten Baltimore once. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Broncos. They have some strong wins over teams that will likely be in the postseason. As a matter of fact, I think the Chiefs are probably the only team the Steelers can't beat. So if they could avoid Kansas City in the playoffs, maybe they could be the dark horse out of the AFC. But this only happens if they're healthy. So if I'm the Bengals or if I'm the Steelers, I am not too worried about the Bengals because, look, if you're going to be the 3 seed, you're probably going to be on the road in the postseason at some point. The Ravens probably aren't going to lose to the Browns, so you're not going to be the 3 seed. You're going to be the 5 or 6 seed. And at that point, it doesn't really matter 5 or 6. You take what you get, and you got to beat the good teams to get to the Super Bowl. So just take your medicine, do it. So I think the Steelers could be a dark horse wild card candidate, but I won't be betting on them.
I think that is a very, very smart decision, John. John Breech, Will Brinson, always love the insight you guys give. It's crazy what Joe Burrow has done in this season. So he's thrown 42 TD passes right to this point, but he still could miss the playoffs. Only 2 other QBs who have thrown for more than 40 tutties have missed the postseason. Drew Brees and Dan Marino. Unbelievable that he might not even make the playoffs with having such a ridiculous year.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
we're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.